TNA Wrestling crossed that line again as Against All Odds is out of the way, and we have got some more returns to discuss on the channel as well, which was a super fun show Against All Odds. TNA showcasing their talent in many, many ways. And like I said, some new slash old talent have also reappeared. So we'll get into all that and so much more on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast bumper edition today. Two review shows coming your way. First things first, like I said, TNA Against All Odds. We heard from the Nemeth brothers on this channel ahead of this show. Go and check it down below in the playlist. Just go special guest reviews, go right the way down to the bottom, and you will see the interview with the Nemeths. Now, if you're in the UK and Ireland and you still haven't got TNA Plus yet, what are you doing, for one? Secondly, if you would like a free month of TNA Plus, get it downloaded in the App Store. When you go and select your 1 month in the code part, put Leon YIC, and courtesy of the youngest in charge, you will get a free month of TNA Plus, where you can see the likes of Nick Nemeth, of Joe Hendry, Leon Slater, and many, many more. But for now, that's the plugging of TNA Plus out of the way, at least for a moment, as we hit the countdown to Against All Odds. Now, normally, we don't really go into a lot of detail. We just normally say, this is what happened in the match, and we just break the match. We don't normally break the match down into massive detail, but this one in particular, we need to, it was a very fun tag match. Sorry, 6-woman tag match as Ash, Heather, and M by Elegance. They actually defeated the team of Zaya Brookside, Harley Hudson, and Myla Grace. That was like a UK UK trio, shall we say, Ireland, Wales, and England. And well, actually, Harley Hudson's from Liverpool, and they think they have their own country, so maybe we should just say Liverpool in that sense. But they did come unstuck against Team Elegance in what was a fun opening contest, though. And you're seeing the strengths of the knockouts division there with those 6 women, as well as obviously a lot of the newer acquisitions in this, in Harley and Myla. And they held their own in this match. They're just going to go to show what great strength and depth the knockouts division actually has in TNA wrestling. There was, what do I say? The Elegances were dressed to impress. They were dressed like devils to honor the ASU Sun Devils, obviously being in Arizona. Try and get a bit of a cheap reaction from the crowd. Didn't really work, shall we say. But they do have their personal concierge, George the Iceman, to thank for this. He hit Grace with the Devil Fork, allowing Ash to hit the Swanton Bomb to pick up the victory. Now, it's more what happened after the match than before. So as the match finished, George the Iceman picked up the microphone, as he does, and he was hyping the Elegances. They're the most beautiful team going. And then some music hit, some familiar music hit if you were a fan of TNA. And if you're not a fan of TNA and perhaps were fans of the WWE some time ago, the theme song may have been slightly iconic, shall we say, as the return of the Inspiration, Jessica McKay and Cassie Lee, the former Iconics in the WWE. They returned and signaled that they want the Knockouts Tag Team Championship. So if you ever thought of any reason why you should watch, the pre-shows or the road to Against All Odds, I always like to call them the pre-shows. There was a reason right there, because TNA have just brought back 2 major knockouts to a stacked division already before the pay-per-view or the special show has even begun. So there's your reason. Here comes the plug to get the TNA Plus app, get it downloaded, get it subscribed, get that championship package, as well as, like we said, if you're in the UK and Ireland, just type in Leon YIC in the code and you will get 1 month's free, courtesy of Leon Slayer. On top of all of that, if you do get the championship package, you will be able to see Against All Odds, Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, and get access to the TNA Vault, where you will see the legends of TNA, such as AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, and so much more. But the inspiration are back in TNA and have gold on their mind. But like I said, there's your reason to watch the pre-show or the road to the shows that TNA do before their big shows, because returns like this can happen at any time. Welcome back to TNA. The inspiration, I'm sure you will be iconic. Anyway, let's enough of the puns for now, shall we? Let's concentrate on the action. And Steph DeLander basically comes out with bullying the commentators, as Steph DeLander does, about Mence Warner as well, and how he was going to leave the new international champion tonight. This was also again on the pre-show, and after that, Santino, Morello, and Ariana Grace comes out. Now, remember, Santino stepped down from his role of director and has kind of put it on the line in the tag team match a little bit later on, which we'll get into. He was talking about Robert Stone, Victoria Crawford, and Tessa Blanchard, and how he's still going to win their tag match. But it was also announced that Matt Cardona would be the special guest referee for the Santino match with Robert Stone. Apologies, it wasn't a tag, but Santino and Robert Stone match later on in the evening. Interesting times. Cardona, what's his deal with TNA there? He's been around quite a bit now, and he was on recently on Chris Van Vliet. I don't think he said he wasn't signed. There wasn't anything going, but perhaps the deal with TNA is possible. Maybe. We like to hope so. Anyway, I would like to think that TNA could. I know Cardona's pricey. He was on this very podcast. Again, you can check that out in our interview section of our show. He was right there. He gave us his price. But yeah, maybe not. Who knows? But listen, Matt Cardona on TNA TV is always welcome in my book. But we begin with Z International Championship match between Macklin and Mence Warner. And I tell you what, an opening contest, this was solid, stiff. It had, quite a lot into it. And again, Macklin is shown time and time again why he is, well, A, bulletproof, but B, why he is such a top contender in TNA wrestling. I know he has that international championship, but I've got a feeling Macklin may want to be climbing that ladder for the world championship opportunity. He is so good. I don't think he's under, to say is he under, because I was talking to someone the other day about Macklin and they asked, is he underutilized in TNA? And I was kind of like, well, I could see an argument because, I know he's an international champion and he was the first, and you can never take the first away from anybody. But so many people I talk saying he should be in contention for the world title, should be in contention for the world title. I think Macklin should be. I really do. I enjoy his stuff. And only time will tell in TNA. But I think right now, when you look at it, when you look at the Santanas, the Hendrys, Elijahs, and things like that, Macklin is very much on that level. Maybe giving him this international championship is kind of like, how the old Intercontinental title used to be in the WWE when it was the WWF. The Intercontinental title was your stepping stone to that world championship opportunity. So who knows? But Macklin in this match, very impressive, as was Mence Warner, to be quite honest with you. I didn't, again, I think I said this before on TNA podcast. I never really knew much about him. I knew he was in GCW. I obviously knew he was going out with Steph DeLander outside of wrestling. So I knew that much, but more and more that I see him, more and more I think, wow, this guy is actually, because sometimes you see the deathmatch sort of stuff and you see the hardcore stuff and you think, are they a one-trick pony? Is that all they can do? No, Mence Warner can do so much more, and he's starting to show it. And I think now, being on weekly TV like TNA, a bit like I've already said about, the AJ Francis, the Ash by Elegance, is giving them the opportunity to showcase their stuff, actually give them the story, give them the background, inform the fans of them a little bit. You then can have that interaction, that belief, that, believability with the fans. Mence Warner, we don't know too much about the backstory, but we know when that bell goes, the guy's a killer. And this is why also this match really, really worked for me because they were similar in many ways in terms of styles, which I don't mind that too much. I do like the clash of styles sometimes, but that can be a risky one to do. But these two just threw Hail Marys at each other for 10 minutes. Yeah, it was a what was the old good old big beefy, big meaty men slapping meat, right? That's what the terminology I think is nowadays. And it was great. I really enjoyed this. KAI from Macklin retains the championship. I wasn't sure if they're going to continue with this going forward. I don't know, but I feel as if like there needs to be. I know Eric Young was kind of in Macklin's sights for a while, and they did end up doing their big match with a lot of blood, the chain match recently on TNA. I feel as if there needs to be a program now with Macklin. He needs to be starting something with somebody. I mean, could be the Northern Armory, but I'm looking at the roster and I'm thinking, someone like a KC Navarro would be a great opportunity, for him to get in there with Macklin, but have it something that lasts a bit of time with it now. Let's have a program put together for Macklin for not say a real feud or a real challenge because that's disrespectful to Mence Warner and even the Cardona who had him recently as well as Eric Young. So, but something that he can start with that doesn't necessarily have to defend the title, but that can lead up to it and build on. That's what it needs now. It's time to see that for the International Championship. But as for this match, enjoyable, and Macklin retains and is still the International Championship. Now we move on to probably what the Arizona fans are really wanting to see. And I've used this word iconic quite a lot recently already in this, but to hear the iconic tones of the Hardys as well as Leon Slater, which was absolutely incredible. I think, and again, I probably said this before, but anyone that epitomizes a Hardy boy, Leon Slater's that man, right? He is because he does the stuff that Jeff still does to this day. Leon's that type of guy that does all that, and I thought it was really interesting with the interview that we actually done with Leon. Again, you can see that in the playlist below. And he talks about growing up a Hardy Boy fan, and with his age, you can understand it and where that's going. And he had the face paint on with him and Jim and Jeff and Matt. But the question was because they were going against four members of the system. The question was, who would be the mystery partner of Matt, Jeff, and Leon? Well, it was the hometown star. It was a masked man. Uh, yeah, someone who may have lost quite recently. Listen, it wasn't El Grande Americano. That's for sure. It definitely wasn't him. But I mean, there's names like, well, was it Cody Deaner for that matter? I mean, I don't know. We needs to be unmasked, I think, for that. But anyway, the hometown star and the Hardys and Leon Slater was against the system. You know, the hometown man had a good showing in this one. He really did. Um, but I feel as if the finish of this match is kind of where I think we're leading to. And if it is where we're leading to, I'm hoping that that's going to predict, well, my prediction for where it's leading to comes true. And again, if you've been watching the program, watching the interviews, you will know that I've said that this year, Leon Slater will win X Division Gold in TNA. Well, after Moose had speared the hell out of the hometown star, Leon Slater, as Moose was going, sorry, speared Leon Slater out the air. He was going for the second spear, and Leon caught him in a roll up and pinned the X Division champion Moose. And that really should mean if you pin the champion, you should be getting that shot. That's how it normally goes. I know Leon's had an opportunity. He's had Ultimate X and all of that sort of stuff. And sometimes in defeats you learn. We're talking to former TNA star Hammerstone before, and we've talked to people like him and other people that have had opportunities at Gold and that they've lost matches, and we're like, well, is it about just is it always do you learn in defeat to make it better for the next time and stuff like that? And so Leon pinning the X Division champion now is very, very interesting to see where that goes this coming week on TNA. In fact, this coming week on TNA, the Inspiration will be making, they'll be having their first match, shall we say, after re-signing for TNA. And but Leon pinning Moose in this match is a massive thing for him, massive for where he's going, and hopefully, the start of Leon Slater winning TNA Gold in 2025. Well, at least the X Division Gold in 2025. We hope that's where it goes. Fully, and I hope it does because and it's not just because the fact that he's British and everything like that. The kid is so talented. Again, I keep saying about going and watching the interviews that we've done. If you actually go down and watch our interviews, you will see the interview that we've done recently with the Nemeth brothers, for argument's sake, and that actually said on there, and Nick Nemeth actually said on there that how good Leon actually is. And I think that's the key part. When you've got so many people, I think even Moose actually said it, to be fair, if I'm honest. I really do think Moose said it. I could be wrong on that one. But when you've got everyone saying just how good he is, I think that tells you exactly where you need to know or exactly what you need to know about it. But anyway, Leon picks up the victory for the Hardys and the Hardys and the hometown man, whoever that may be. But anyway, we're going to move on from that match. And look, one of the things that TNA have done really well, one of the things that have happened on TNA that I think has done really well was we've unleashed a new side of Mustafa Ali. And recently he's been dragging Tasha Steelz around, part of his team. He's had these issues with Hotch and whatnot. Jason Hotch, who was on his team as part of the Great Hands. And it got to a point now where Jason Hotch has decided that he wants a match with Mustafa Ali, and he got it against all odds with John Schuyler on commentary. Ali, this new side of Ali, I am really enjoying, and I actually think that he's becoming, I don't know if it's reckless or he's becoming something, but we're seeing this evil side of Ali. And it's not like a split personality. He's like a Jekyll and Hyde type guy. Um, because throughout all this, there was times where he was pulling up Jason Hotch during this match. I mean, he hit a 450 for it's game over when he hits the 450. He pulled him up at two, and that got Skylar off of commentary at this point, and he's telling him to stop screwing around. But the funny thing with this, and I would have to say this, is that the fans were chanting one more time for Ali to do it one more time, even though that Ali's, kind of the heel in this, shall we say? It's what the crowds are doing. Hey, they brought back a wrestler recently. We'll get into that later. So he did go for one more time. Hotch got the knees up and got a very close near fall. And as he charged into Ali, he hits a belly to belly. And then he finally hits a 450 off the back, onto the back, sorry, of Hotch. And he didn't hold him up this time. He did pick up the pinfall and won the match, which I thought was going to happen anyway. It was quite interesting because John Schuyler went to help Hotch up during this match, but at the end of it, but Ali kicked it away, and he made Hotch get to his feet himself, and then offered him a handshake. But when Hotch went to accept, Ali walked away from Jason Hotch, and I don't quite know what's going on with Mustafa Ali, but I'm really liking it, to be quite honest. There's been talk, and I don't know. I have to be honest with you on this. I'm not quite sure. But there's a lot of rumors going around that he's actually trying to work on the character stuff because of the relationship with WWE. Obviously, WWE are watching on. and they may be seeing this side of Ali and thinking, oh, okay, that something he's got something here, because sometimes if you go away from somewhere like Drew McIntyre, a prime example, left WWE, he got released, went to the Indies, absolutely killed it on the Indies, and next thing you know, he's back and he's better than ever before. Maybe Mustafa Ali's trying to work on that to get back to the WWE. That's a possibility. Look, endless possibilities now in TNA with the partnership with WWE, which is working really, really well. But yeah, I kind of heard these little rumors messing around, and listen, they're just rumors. They're people just shouting and shooting their stuff, and it was just quite an interesting read. I don't know what you guys make of that at home. Do you see that? Think Ali's maybe working on a character just to show WWE that he's more than just a one-trick pony. Who knows? But he did beat Jason Hotch in his match, which I very much enjoyed against All Odds. And we'll see what happens from there. Now, we do get to a highlight package of what happened on Tuesday. Mike Santana did not win the TNA Heavyweight Championship off of Trick Williams on NXT, thanks in most part to First Class, Casey Navarro and AJ Francis. I was a bit confused. I mean, when we spoke to the NMFs recently, Nick was like, the guy's an outsider. We don't want an outsider winning our championship. We hate the fact that an outsider's won our championship, but yet First Class prevented Santana from bringing that championship back to TNA Wrestling. And that brings us to the First Class Penthouse. I think, if anything, this may have been a little bit too long. Probably a bit like my blabbering on over these last few matches. Probably went on a little bit too long for me. But they shouted out about their issues with Santana. Um, and they tried to boo. I think they're like the crowds were on them. They were booing them quite heavily. But I feel as if they were trying to perhaps boo them to sort of put them off what they were doing, and it didn't work, which was also good as well. Um, but nevertheless, people they were saying that Santana wasn't here against odds. He certainly was. He come out from the crowd. He fought through security this security that they had with him, that the AJ and Casey had with him. Sorry. And AJ Francis did sacrifice Navarro in this, and Santana put him through a table. But as he did that, AJ Francis breaks a champagne glass over Santana's head and dragged Navarro away. So there's going to be a lot more into that. Surely on Impact this week, we'll get a follow up from that. But I think AJ Francis may be picking a fight. I mean, he's got money. There's no doubt about it. The guy's minted, but is he trying to cash a check that he simply can't cover with Mike Santana? I don't know. Santana, for me, is still the man to be winning that TNA Heavyweight Championship back from Trick Williams at some point, at least this year. But what will happen this Thursday on TNA? Now's a good time for another plug. Download the TNA Plus app, get it downloaded, get it subscribed. Get that Impact, get TNA Plus, get subscribed. If you're a member of the UK and Ireland and you would like a month free, just type in Leon YIC. It's going to run out very soon, so you need to hurry up and get it. And then you can see what happens. The fallout from Against All Odds this Thursday on TNA. Knockouts championship match now. Masha Slamovich against Leia Ying Lee. I find if I do that slowly, I tend not to forget it. Indy Hartwell joined the team on commentary. Her dream is to become a knockouts champion. I really do think that Indy Hartwell will fulfill her dreams. To be quite honest, in TNA, I really do think that she will win the TNA Knockouts Championship at some point. But this match was unbelievable. Masha and Leia Ling Yi tore. I mean, the Knockouts have had some great matches this year, and this match was just up there. They were so good. I love the way these both work. They're kind of like I like calling them a similar clash of styles, these two. Because you've got obviously Lei Ling Lee with her background, martial arts and all of that. Obviously, Slamovich is very much a MMA kind of style, the way that she works, and it is. But they can also wrestle, I'm say they can wrestle, that's a stupid word. But like they can put it all together and wrestle and do wrestling at the same time. And it's just, this match was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed this. I didn't get the impression that Leia Yingli was ever going to walk away with a Knockouts Championship at this point, because I don't think they had the story there for the change, if that makes sense. If you're going to have a title change, you generally build up. It's not something that just clicks and happens, or if it does, there's a story behind it. I didn't feel that during this. I didn't feel it during, the last couple of weeks, excuse me, when they've tried to piece it together. So I didn't feel as if the title would change hands here. But my God, it was still a great, great match. And the Slamovich obviously hit the power driver move for the victory. But once again, yet another return to the Knockouts division. And my God, this Knockouts division is stacked. It was stacked before. I said it needed new tag teams. I think I said that on the Impact review last week. Apologies, the Impact review didn't come out this week. But in terms of stars on their roster, they were stacked already. Then we've had the inspiration, and now Killer Kelly makes her return to TNA Wrestling. Former partner of Masha Slamovich comes back, drops the chain at Slamovich's feet, and then leaves. That is going to be an incredible. If they're going to start something with Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich, someone that knows Slamovich like the back of her hand. This is a feud. Now, this is where, what I just said? I didn't feel like a title change could happen because there wasn't really a build or a story. You've got it right there. Killer Kelly returning to TNA from Masha Slamovich. And you've got the background, you've got everything there for the change. And I will say this, I am very much looking forward to what happens next on TNA between those two. But a great, great match with Masha and Liao Yingli. One you need to really go and watch. TNA Plus. There you go. Just saying. Anyway, Joe Hendry, Frankie Kazarian was next. Obviously, Joe Hendry come off the loss of the championship. Kazarian lost his Call Your Shot gauntlet as well. These two have such great chemistry in the ring. Every time these two get in the ring, they never fail to disappoint on this. The crowd still believe. There's one thing I will say. Even after the championship defeat, the crowd still believe in Joe Hendry, which, I think it's quite important if he's going to try and the chase back to the championship. If that's where they're going, I don't know. But I certainly feel that it's important that they stick with Joe Hendry a little bit, and they don't twist. Because if the fans start not, I'm not saying not believing, but if the fans start, the hype and everything comes down, you're then going to struggle to get it back up for the chase, so to speak. Assuming, and I am assuming at this point, that there's going to be a chase for the title for Joe Hendry. We will see. Maybe Santana wins it and Hendry beats Santana at Bound for Glory. Who knows? My pick would generally be Hendry wins it back and maybe he drops it maybe late this year to Santana, and Santana ends the year on top. That's how I see it. But these two, Kazarian and Hendry, had a great, great match. There was a Sister Abigail in this, by the way. Good shout out to our fallen friend Wyndham. It was fantastic. But there was also a point here where I thought the referee was going to stop the match. It was Kazarian had a chicken wing on Hendry for what seemed like an eternity, and he never did stop it. Hendry did end up firing back, but it ended up with Kazarian clipping the leg and the knee of Joe Hendry, rolled him up with his feet on the ropes, and Kazarian, who, to be honest, had been on one of those kind of loss after loss after loss after loss, picks up a huge win against Joe Hendry. What I would say about this is I was kind of expecting, uh, let's say a dusty finish, do they call it nowadays? You know, uh, I was even kind of thinking, are they going to restart the match some way because of the feet on the ropes? Maybe someone has seen it. Maybe we need to introduce VAR into wrestling. I don't know. Because they're called Hendry a loser again, and are they going with that now? Is Hendry going to go on a losing streak, shall we say? We'll have to wait and see. But this Thursday on TNA, we should know more. That is for sure. We saw Robert Stone paying off Matt Cardona in the back. I'm not sure Robert Stone had enough dollars for that, but we'll find out. Anyway, the next one. TNA Tag Team Championship, Nick and Ryan Nemeth defending against the Rascals. Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz. I love this match. Randomly during this match, I will have to say, the fans were chanting, "We want Truth" for R-Truth, who was released by WWE this coming week. Hmm, okay, we'll get onto that later. Watch the Money in the Bank review later on. But anyway, I love this. I really enjoyed this match because the Rascals are just, it's like Nick Nemeth, Ryan, the Rascals. You could put them in the ring of anybody, and it would be tremendous. You put them in a ring together, and it's just magic. It is absolutely magic with these four. There was some great double teamwork in it, as you can imagine. I feel like Nick and Ryan, they're brothers in real life, but they've not been a team on television a lot. And I think they're get building, they're putting the pieces together, the jigsaw pieces together. I'm sure they've done some, growing up, they were teaming up and whatnot, but you know, um, but it's working with these two and the Rascals together. Again, for me, again, there wasn't the story in this, to sort of indicate a title change. In this, because obviously when the Nemeths did beat the Hardys, they'd actually taken the titles anyway from the Hardys compound, if you remember rightly. So there was the stories in there. This one there wasn't, and again, I didn't feel as if they were going to win the championships, and they didn't, thanks to a big Hollywood ending from Ryan Nemeth to get the pinfall. And I do like the fact that Ryan's picking up the victories in this. A lot of times out of 10, Nick, you would assume would pick up the victories, and Ryan has been picking them up. Sometimes he's been stealing them, but he has been picking up the W's for the team, which I think is massively important for a team going forward in TNA. They did start to do a merch promo, which was cut off by Eric Young. He was complaining about an NXT guy holding a TNA championship. Sami Callihan confronted Eric Young. So are we going to see Sami Callihan and Eric Young go at it this coming Thursday on TNA Plus? Please, please. I hope so. Be brilliant. But he's got a point. Eric Young's got every right to be pissed off. Nick Nemeth's pissed off again. Watch the interview below. Watch the short I put out earlier about it, and you'll see what he thinks of it. But here we go. The Director of Authority match is next. Santino Marella against Robert Stone. Santino with Ariana Grace. Robert Stone with Tessa Blanchard, Victoria Crawford, and the added input of Matt Cardona as special referee. It was kind of like they had this director authority thing held up at the start. Like it was a title match, but it was a director authority. Cardona found brass knuckles on Stone during the pat down. Santino then offered the pipe that he snuck into his trunks before Cardona can pat him down. This was what you would expect it to be. There was a lot of funny stuff, old school face and heel style match. Crawford and Blanchard were attacking Morello whenever Cardona's back were turned. The crowd were chanting "Ref, you suck." I mean, this is the kind of match that that you would see. And this isn't a disrespect when I say this, but when you take your kids to watch wrestling at your local show, and it's a family-friendly show, you always get that. You know what I'm getting at with this, and this is exactly what it was. But what I will say is, when both of these took it into the ring and started wrestling, they can go. There is no doubt about it. Robert Stone, the former Robbie E in TNA. Santino, we know all about. He pulled out the Cobra at one point. Tessa Blanchard took it down. Blanchard tried to slip Stone the badge. Cardona wouldn't let him use it. But then when he done that, it allowed Crawford to hit Morello with an axe kick, and he got a near fall out of it. But finally, Ariana Grace then gave Santino, her father, the backup Cobra, and he hit the Cobra on Stone to win the match and the toy sheriff's badge. that they were holding up at the end of it. Look, this was a comedy match, and like I said, it was positioned exactly where it should be on the card just before your big match, because when you've had such a big show, you need that match just to kind of, I don't say bring the crowd next. The crowd were eating this up, but do you know what I mean? Getting ready for what's to come. It was such a fun comedy match that you should go and see. And the fans were chanting, "You still got it" at Santino. And he is the undisputed TNA Director of Authority now. Nothing will take that away from Santino Marella. But it is the main event time now. It is Trick Williams. It is Elijah. TNA World Championship contest. You know, the crowd again, we want truth during this. Uh, this was great. This was absolutely great. I love this match. Yeah, again, it could be disrespectful if I say it this way, but WWE TV main event quality match is what it was. It's absolutely what it was. I really liked this until the end. And the reason why I liked it till the end was because AJ Francis gets involved again. He tripped Elijah up, nearly costing him the match at one point. Um, Trick Williams tried to hit Elijah with the guitar. He missed. But that was, the distraction because of the referee, and that then led AJ Francis to give Trick Williams the belt and hit Elijah with the belt, and that got a near fall. Now, I must say, when that got a near fall, I was like, they're going to change the title. They're going to put it on Elijah. This is happening straight away. I was wrong because Trick Williams, there was an exposed turnbuckle earlier on. He sends Elijah into that, hit the trick shot, then got the pinfall to win the match. Lots of stuff went down on TNA. Brilliant show. Loved Against All Odds. Was a fantastic show. But we move on to TNA this coming Thursday on TNA Plus. Like I've said so many times during this, get it downloaded, get subscribed, get that app. If you're living in the UK and Ireland and you want a month free, hurry up. Just type Leon YIC in the code and you will get 1 month free of TNA Plus. But that's a wrap for Against All Odds. Keep checking us at HTT Buckle One X, HTT Buckle One YouTube, hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on all other social media outlets. And until next time, everybody, cross that line and stay safe.